Remember that on Friday, August the 25th, the Nigerian junta said it had ordered French Ambassador Sylvain Ite to leave the country within 48 hours, as relations between the West African country and its former colonial ruler deteriorated further. Well, the ultimatum expired Sunday, August 27th, and the French ambassador still didn't leave. He, along with the new US ambassador, do not recognize the new regime in Niger, saying it's illegitimate. Well, earlier on Sunday, the military government in Niger reportedly threatened to force him out by any means possible, if he didn't immediately get out of the country as ordered. Who are you to refuse to leave? Military government spokesman said, responding to French ambassador. Isn't it interesting how France now refuses to recognize a coup government, when the same France has allegedly been behind the most number of coups carried out on the continent of Africa? None of those coup regimes was denied recognition by France. In fact, some of them are still in power today and are in France's good books. But when the coup doesn't serve France's interest, it becomes illegitimate. Even if you don't think they are legitimate, the truth is, power is on their shoulders right now. They have the instruments of power in the palm of their hands. That's why they are the ones everyone is meeting for negotiations and not Bazoum. That's why they have appointed officials and life is moving on regardless. And until something changes, everyone must respect that, including France and USA. This level of colonial arrogance and parochial sense of entitlement has got to stop. It won't happen on any other continent, and these are some of the reasons Africans are just beyond fed up and saying it loud and clear that enough is enough. Enough of these nonsense on the continent of Africa. If this French ambassador is sitting tight and hoping to become the trigger that allows France step in, I think he's taking the resolve of Africans for granted. Best advice, get out of the country and then wait till a government you can recognize and respect is brought back to power. Isn't that as simple as it gets? On the other hand, Biden has reportedly extended an exclusive invitation to Nigeria's Bola Ahmed Tinubu to meet with him on the sidelines of the upcoming United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, in New York City, so they can advance discussions on the Niger crisis, according to the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy and Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs Ambassador Molly Fee. Furthermore, Fee said, "We know there is more we can do to incentivize large-scale American investment in Nigeria, and we are committed to working closely with you to achieve that, as part of efforts to strengthen the Nigerian economy and the regional economy. We appreciate your willingness to create an enabling environment for that. President Joe Biden is asking to meet with you on the sidelines of UNGA, and you are the only African leader he has requested to meet. It is a mark of his regard for your leadership." So what it means is that Biden regards Tinubu more than any other African leader, which is why he's the only one Biden has requested to meet with on the sidelines of the UNGA. Chew up on that for a minute. Either way, I'm no prophet or psychic, but I strongly believe Biden wants to hear firsthand from Tinubu why the strike on Niger hasn't happened yet, despite all the pressure from France and the collective West. I can see subtle threats handed to Tinubu during that meeting, threats that if he doesn't act as expected, the West will withdraw their backing for his presidency, and you know what that means. All of a sudden, you will see the West go a full 180 degrees and start leading the campaign for the Nigerian judiciary to restore democracy in Nigeria. Democracy indeed. May God keep us alive to expose it if it happens. Meanwhile, Africa is on the move away from slavery and towards freedom for generations to come. No African leader who sucked his mother's breast milk well will betray this collective African exodus from colonial bondage. This time is so ripe for our freedom that even if we fail to fight, the elements will fight for us. This is God's time for Africa. Even the blind can see it. And that's why I know beyond knowing that in the end, Africa will win. And Africa will be finally free. You can take that to the bank and cash it. God bless Africa. And God bless Russia.
We begin in the nation's capital, where President Bola Tinubu has accepted the invitation to meet the United States President on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. He disclosed this when the United States Presidential Envoy and Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Ambassador Molly Fee, visited him in the presidential villa earlier today. And our correspondent, Femi Akonde, reports.
This meeting was not just about inviting President Bola Tinubu to meet U.S. President Joe Biden at the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. It was also about deepening bilateral ties and strengthening relations that dates back to many decades ago. President Bola Tinubu advised the visiting U.S. presidential envoy to ensure that U.S. policy is intentionally collaborative with independent African democracies at a time when they are under assault by anti-democratic forces within and outside of the continent. The president also pointed out that the American-backed development finance and multilateral institutions, which were designed to support war-torn Europe after World War II, requires swift and comprehensive reform to meet the developmental requirements of younger democracies in Africa, which operate in authoritarian, crowded environments, such that the legitimate yearnings of Africans would no longer be manipulated to serve the narrow aims of self-seeking demagogues through unconstitutional takeovers of power. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs summarizes what was discussed at the high-powered bilateral meeting.
The economy, so business. We're looking at, of course, security concerns. That's the elephant in the room. You know, what's happening in our region, what's happening in Niger, and, you know, other things. The return to democracy and normalcy is paramount. The security concerns in the region also very important. Both sides are pleased. Of course, we're going to Anga, so there will be sideline meetings there also to continue along the same lines.
President Tinubu told his visitor that the crisis in Niger Republic would not deter him from concluding his economic reform program successfully for the benefit of Nigerians, and assured that he will only advance the interests of the Nigerian state in the way ECOWAS handles the regional standoff. The U.S. presidential envoy pledged support for the position of ECOWAS and emphasized the high regard the U.S. administration has for the leadership of the chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, President Bola Tinubu, and also extended an exclusive invitation from the U.S. president to meet on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York to advance discussions further.